answer. He turned water into what?
Wine.
Wine! See, she listening. Oh, great. What's your name?
Kendall.
Kendall. Now, Kendall, he turned water into wine. When blacks and Hispanics drink a little bit, sis, my older sister, my grandma, what happens to the whites of their eyes? They get red. So we're describing a black man. Now let's read it.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
It says his feet like unto fine brass. My sister got sandals on right there. The top of your feet, sis, what color are they? I know you're nervous. I know you're nervous, sis. It's okay. They brown. It's the same color as Christ, because the Bible says his feet, and I'm not going to put you on the spot. I got daughters too. I know they're shy. I apologize. Now, my point is, the top of his feet was like fine brass. The sister's feet is like fine brass. If you put that together with the image of the hair, I don't understand how you could see this in the Bible, right? Because this man right here does not have woolly hair. He has long, stringy hair. This man right here does not have skin like fine brass. He has white or red skin. And he also has blue eyes. And the Bible just said that his eyes were a flame of fire. So now, why is it important? Let's keep reading.
As if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
So he was a strong man. It said his voice, sis, when Christ spoke, his voice was like the sound of many waters. Every movie you watch Passion of the Christ, he was a soft-spoken white man in a gown. Now what does it do? Christianity, when you believe in this image, you start to do two things. You take on a different spirit, and you start to worship another race. So get me 1 Corinthians where it says, take on a different spirit, and then give me the image of the beast. Because my brother, you go to church? Okay, now my question to you, my friend. We just read in the Bible that the Bible says that Christ had white woolly hair, and his skin was that fine brass. Would you agree that that would be a description of a black man today?
Say it again.
It said in the Bible that Christ's hair, his head of his hairs was white like wool. So woolly texture, one second. So woolly texture and white in color. And then it also said when John looked at his feet, they looked like fine brass, as if it was burned in a furnace. So he was a dark, well we know from the Bible, from the verse, it says he's a black man. Would you agree that that is a correct description of a black man in the Bible?
I think that's a correct description of a person. That description can fit many different races.
So what race has woolly hair?
I mean, race is a slippery slope because most things aren't.
Then let's not deal with race. Let's deal with what type of people from what geographic location have woolly hair.
All right, but in all fairness, if you're going to have a conversation with somebody, you have to let them speak their full answer. You can't try and curate their answer.
Okay, go ahead. No. If you're gonna, if that's your,
re-ask your question.
So, in what location geographically in the earth, or race or ethnicity, however you want to answer it, describes a man or has people amongst them that have woolly hair and are dark skinned? Let me know.
You can find those people all over the earth.
And what are they? Where their lineage come from?
Generally speaking, you're picking up people who are considered black.
Okay, so now I agree with you that they're found throughout the earth, but a majority of the history, when you go to their lineage, it was that they were brought over as slavery. For example, my family's Puerto Rican. My dad is dark with woolly hair. Now, how did he get to Puerto Rico? Slavery. And where does the lineage come from? Africa. Now, when you go to Colombia, have you traveled out the country? So when you go to other countries, you find people of different nationalities that might, not different nationalities, but have different phenotypes, let's say, and have that description. A majority of the time, their lineage will come from those slave areas, slave towns, or slave history, and now their lineage is now assimilated to that culture, like Colombia, Brazil, Honduras, Ecuador, America.
But that's the way the world works.
Yeah, but that's not my point about how the world works. My point is that that description is not just describing anybody, it is describing what a black man looks like. That's the point.
Okay, so now
that's the point.
Going back to those times, though, black people were much more common on the earth than they are now.
I wouldn't say they're much more common on the earth now.
Percentage-wise.
Okay, now sis, real quick before you leave, Grandma, I got one question for you. Do you know where the first 5 books of the Bible took place? Not quite. Genesis and Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Leviticus. Those are the first 5. Do you know where they took place?
Garden of Eden?
No, sir. Because Exodus, Moses delivered the people out of where? Out of where?
Now you making me really think.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna slow down. I don't want to go too far. Let's go with the verses. Close.
No, answer the question. I want to know the answer.
All right. So we're gonna go to the Bible. I'm gonna get 4 verses. Before you go, I want to get these 4 verses quick. Let's read through Exodus 20 and 2. Then we're gonna go to the other spirit in Corinthians, and then we're gonna go to image of the beast. Okay? Really quick. Read.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. I am the Lord thy God,
So this is the first 5 books. Where are they located? Read.
which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Remember, Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. Egypt is on what continent? Africa, would you agree? And what country borders Egypt? You said it. Israel. So majority of all the first 5 books was placed in what continent? Africa. How can
That's a
we?
slippery slope because
No, it's not. Do you know geography?
no.
Let's go. Why is it slippery slope?
I was gonna say because technically, wouldn't the Middle East also be in that area?
The Middle East only became a term in the 80s. It was never called the Middle East.
Right. That's why I said it's a slippery slope
So-
because now you're getting into.
No, I'm going into history, so you just gotta know history. So today, Middle East might encompass Egypt. Maybe that's what kind of puts your mindset there, right? The Arabs there were never there until after Islam was on conquest in Africa. Around 700 AD, 700 years after Christ, Muhammad conquered the Middle East and North Africa and converted them to Islam by the sword. It's called the Mohammedan conquest. That's why a lot of North Africa has Arabs in it, and a lot of Africa in general is Islam. That's actually where that comes from, historically. But we're talking about Exodus, which is 1200 BC, which is also 2,000 years before that. So at that time, Egypt was filled with blacks.
Yeah.
Africa filled with blacks.
Yeah.
The Middle East, so-called, everybody was black. That's why I said you're kind of correct to the point where black people were more prominent in this region at the time. You're correct. But what we have forgotten is, who are those people? Because black was not a nationality back then. What are we reading? The Bible. The Bible. Who got taken out of Egypt by Moses? We just said Israel. And then where did they go to conquer and live? Israel. So if the people of the book, and we're going to get more proof that they were black, all right? So get me Paul real quick, and then we're going to go to Corinthians. Because the whole disconnect with our people, sis, before you go, brother, sis, is that when we read the Bible, we are still believing that the history is the history of so-called Caucasians. That's why I started off with, maybe not now, sis, but before the kids did. And that's why it's important to understand biblical and world history. Because when you understand it, you're looking at your history, your book. Because after the Renaissance, if you look on that picture, that is when they changed the image of our people, black Christ, black angels, black God. They painted over it in the Renaissance, and they made the images white. It was called iconoclasm. Look that word up. Can I get this verse real quick?
No, go ahead.
Okay, yes sir, read that.
Acts chapter 21 and verse 37.
The reason I'm going to Acts 21 and 37 is to prove that from Exodus all the way to the New Testament, all the prophets were black. Paul himself was described as a black man. Read that.
And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee?
So he said unto the captain, Can I speak unto thee? Obviously he didn't speak English. What language was he speaking?
Who said, Canst thou speak Greek?
Why would somebody, like for example, I speak Spanish. If you came up to me and started speaking Spanish, isn't it normal for me to be like, where'd you learn Spanish?
It depends if you got preconceived ideas.
Exactly. I agree. So now what does the guard say to him?
Art not thou that Egyptian?
No, read the end of the verse, follow me. It said, who said?
Who said, Canst thou speak Greek?
The guard was like, you can speak Greek? Read.
Art not thou that Egyptian?
Whoa. The guard said to Paul, you speak Greek? Aren't you Egyptian? Why would he describe him as an Egyptian and be surprised when he spoke Greek?
You know,
Because it's not typical.
It was typical at the time because this is the Roman captivity. Greek and Latin were the most common languages. So why was he surprised? Because it's described him as an Egyptian. That is the key. He was black.
white.
He was black. He said, bro, you're Egyptian. You come from Africa. How did you learn Greek? Read.
Which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers.
He's like, you look like the criminal that did these things. But what did Paul say? Because he said, you look like an Egyptian, a black man. Read.
But Paul said, I am a man, which am a Jew.
Which am a what?
Am a Jew.
From where?
Of Tarsus, a city in Sicilia.
So now, Paul says, I'm not an Egyptian, and yes, I can speak Greek. I'm a Jew. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It makes sense when you look at it from the context of the Bible. Exodus was in Africa, Egypt. They led him to Israel, which is a portion of Africa in historic times, until the Suez Canal cut off Israel. So now from Exodus to Acts, we as Jews, or the Jews in general, were described and confused as Africans. So why today, when you go to Israel, there is a different race of people living in the land saying that they are Jews? What has happened? What historically happened?
We left.
We left. We left.
Let me ask you a question, sorry. So,
Yes.
just a bit. So, do you believe that black people are supposed to be Jewish?
Black people are not Jewish. They are the Jews.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is